94 Rocks, Paladin right here. Ted, how in the hell are you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'll tell you, Paladin, I'm celebrating the American dream in spite of the crazy, idiotic world all around us. How about you?
Man, I am so stoked and so excited to be living in America, and I am a patriot, and I am a fan of yours for way back. I've seen you twice in my lifetime, once with KISS in the Tarrant County Convention Center in Fort Worth, once with the damn Yankees, which was one of my most favorite concerts. You and Tommy Shaw and Jack Blades and Michael Cardelloni. Then your bow hunting article about the rhino. That was one of my most favorites to actually...
Well, let me guess, Paladin. Let me guess. You celebrate truth, logic, common sense, and the fire-breathing music of real rhythm and blues rock and roll. How about the way God has blessed me with the greatest musicians that have ever walked the earth? I mean, going back to 1958, the musicians I had back in Detroit, right up till 2022, with Greg Smith on bass and Jason Hartless on drums. My God, am I the luckiest guitar player in the world or what?
Absolutely, and one of the most talented in the world, man. And I know you've been fighting for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to recognize some of that talent. I know you've been fighting for...
Well, actually, I haven't been. I don't really give a damn, because anybody that has, a Chuck Berry and Madonna in the same so-called Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I kind of get a chuckle out of that. But, I live in the ultimate Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've been jamming since 1958 here. I'm 73 years old. I'm releasing a brand new record this year called Ted Nugent Detroit Muscle. My music has never been more fun, more ferocious, and real music lovers everywhere love my band, what Greg and Jason and I put into every song, every lick. So the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is important because, God, our lives would not be as powerful and fun as they are without Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard and certainly Jerry Lee Lewis, what Elvis did, how he brought forth that black musical authority. And I was born in Detroit, so I lived that Motown Funk Brother fire, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But when they desecrate the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by putting in some punk like Grandmaster Flash, I mean, how embarrassing is that? So I live real rock and roll every day, and real rock and rollers know that, and that's plenty good enough for me and my boys.
Absolutely, my brother. I'm absolutely down with that. So Detroit Muscle is coming out April 29th. You had the Come and Take It single that already came out. When we get done talking, which is quite a bit from now, I'm going to drop that new single. I'm going to debut at this station your new single, American Campfire, so that's something to look forward to. I'm really pumped about you putting out new music and getting to play that on this fine station. It's going to be a blast. And
well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think what those songs represent is certainly the heart and soul of the best Minnesotans, the best Americans. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But again, the grind, the ferocity, the authority, the tightness of what my incredible band puts into every song. An American Campfire. Come on, Paladin. Is there a better rock and roll song to represent the spirit of real Minnesota than the American Campfire? How cool is that?
Everybody in this state hunts, man. They are all out.
Sure, those are my blood brothers. Those are my spirit of the wild blood brothers.
And I've got a bear grizzly bow that I'm trying to build up my accuracy on. I wish I could spend more time at the range. I know you and Shemaine are always out shooting. I've seen her bow, and I've seen you shooting your bow. My wife, Ziggy, she has a shoulder injury, so she's going to end up inheriting mine, and I'm going to get something else. I'm going to get a custom at some point. But,
well, Paladin, Uncle Ted is here to help. You know that, don't you?
Are you?
Now, Ziggy, pay attention. Pay attention, man. Don't let Ziggy shoot your bow.
Don't?
It's not the bow for a young lady who has a shoulder problem. Shemaine kills everything, including big elk and zebra and kudu and giant wildebeest with 30-pound draw. Don't let this beautiful wife of yours try to shoot a bow that isn't graceful and isn't effortless. She needs to make sure that she shoots a lightweight draw bow that she can remain stealthy and graceful. The biggest problem in the world of archery and bow hunting is when somebody loans their bow to somebody else and it doesn't fit them and it's too hard to pull back. So be sure you encourage Ziggy, because when Shemaine draws her lightweight Matthews bow, 30 pounds, write it down.
30 pounds.
I'm telling you, I sharpen my knife because she kills everything she shoots at. She's stealthy. She's tuned in. She waits for the perfect shot, for perfect shot placement, uses a two-blade cutting broadhead, And again, she shoots 30-pound draw. Everybody who tries to shoot a bow that they have to struggle to draw back, they're going to quit. They're going to make a bad shot, and we don't have to tolerate that. Make sure Ziggy gets a bow that is effortless. Graceful to draw. That's the mystical flight of the arrow. It's not about power. If you want power, get a 30-30. If you want to perform as a martial artist with archery, get a bow that is graceful and effortless. I'm telling you, poundage means nothing to kill game. It's about stealth, grace, and focus. And really, I got to tell you, Paladin, I'm 73 years clean and sober, and one of the reasons I didn't get druggy and stupid and drooling and puking with drugs and alcohol is because I'm a bow hunter. You got to be cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock around the clock, Dr. Spock, if you want to get close to a white-tailed deer with a sharp stick. So that higher level of awareness, that predator awareness, is really a powerful force that will just make you appreciate and accomplish greater things in life, because it demands all your gifts from God to drive that arrow where your spirit envisions the path of that arrow. So, boy, do not subject Ziggy to a bow that is difficult to draw back, or you'll ruin her. Take my words of wisdom, my friend.
You got it, brother. You know, I'm glad you mentioned about being sober, because that is one of the biggest things I respect about you. Your sobriety is a huge, huge thing that it's become famous. A lot of people know about your sobriety, and that's one of my favorite things to talk to people about when they start making...
Well, thank you.
They make comments about, hey, man, I'd love to go backstage with Ted, because I'd really like to party down with him. And that's the first thing I tell them is that, you're clean and sober. I've heard people talk about going backstage and hearing about you popping open your cooler full of soda and you having oxygen backstage. So you've got a whole different environment backstage than what people envision.
I think over the years, I've probably done more interviews than any human that ever lived. I've been doing interviews going back to the 1960s when rock and roll was just really exploding back in Detroit, 60, 61, 62. And my band won the Battle of the Bands, and we really tried to be like James Brown and Wilson Pickett and the tightness of Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, and certainly Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis. Good grief, what a bunch of fire-breathing monsters those guys were. So we wanted to play really tight. So that was back when the beatniks were drooling into the world of hippies, and they're just becoming idiots, just drunk and stoned and couldn't form a sentence. We did a lot of interviews, and I think there's an awful lot of people. In fact, I would welcome you, Paladin, come to my Facebook and witness my Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire on Facebook and YouTube multiple times every week. And certainly the Ted Nugent Spirit of the Wild TV show on Outdoor Channel for over 32 years, over 500 episodes. I really celebrate that I've been clean and sober my whole life. Number one, because I'm a bow hunter, and if you're drunk or stoned, you're not going to be able to get close to a whitetail with a bow and arrow. You're going to have to buy chicken. So I've always been driven by the stimuli of the outdoor lifestyle, and certainly the amazing music. I get to jam with B.B. King and Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen and Brian May and Billy Gibbons and it's just the world's greatest virtuosos. And when you get the privilege and honor to jam with these gifted people, if you're drunk and stoned, you're going to miss everything. But if you're clean and sober, you're going to really be able to embrace and catalog their incredible genius. I was raised in Detroit where the Motown Funk Brothers set the bar for musical authority, so I've never compromised that just because some dirtbag thought I was goofy because I wouldn't get drunk with them. How stupid is that? So my rock and roll and my Spirit of the Wild bow hunting lifestyle have steered me down a true north compass setting, and here it is, the insanity of 2022, and I think that's the most important message anybody could ever embrace, and that is you're not going to have the ultimate American dream unless you're clean and sober. It's not an opinion. It's an irrefutable, self-evident truth. So I've got a lot of people that celebrate that. Again, the communication with this technology now, I'm on my Facebook every day, and people celebrate that when they got clean and sober, they were more alive. They became a better welder, a better teacher, a better cop, a better farmer, a better bow hunter, a better musician. So that really is the battle cry for the ultimate quality of life, being clean and sober. There's no question about that.
Man, I totally respect that. That is awesome. Well, I'm glad you got that message out. Is there any other points you want to hit today other than your Detroit Muscle album coming out April 29th and the new single, American Campfire?
Yeah, again, Paladin, I appreciate you talking about the things that I love, God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, that great white buffalo in the work ethic arena. So I know I connect with the best American families out there. I was at the feed mill this morning here in Central Texas, and I took Shemaine out for a Valentine's dinner, and people come up to us everywhere we go, and they thank me for the killer music. And again, that's because of my bands, my fellow musicians that God has blessed me with for the last 60-plus years. But yeah, my music is powerful, but Detroit Muscle represents that spirit of being the best that you can be. And again, I mentioned my bass player, Greg Smith. What an animal. What a gifted force of nature, this guy. And Jason Hartless, I think he's only 23 now, Detroit drummer. These guys, and again, damn Yankees, what Tommy and Jack and Michael did, and all my solo bands, all these incredible musicians going all the way back to the Amboy Dukes, and in Detroit, the Lourdes. I've just been surrounded by just gung-ho, maniac musical geniuses that are inspired by the Black heroes. So here it is, 2022, and there's some real bad stuff going on. But let me tell you, when I walk the not-so-mean streets of America, especially up in Minnesota, I've been rocking and rolling in Minnesota since 1967. And I'm surrounded by the greatest people, the greatest music lovers, hard-working American families. So there's so much good to celebrate. And I'd like to believe, and there's actually no doubt about it, that the new record, Detroit Muscle, especially the first single, Come and Take It. I mean, if you want to send a message to some jackbooted thug who wants to infringe on our God-given individual rights, you might want to play Come and Take It for him and then punch him in the throat. So then I'm not recommending violence. That's a metaphor. But anyhow, and then American Campfire, it celebrates that spirit. It's what our Spirit of the Wild TV show is all about. And I write articles for a dozen publications, and I do podcasts literally every day of the week throughout the year. And there's a lot of great families out there that celebrate truth, logic, and common sense. And I thank you and 94 Rock for allowing me to celebrate that and raise hell for it here in the crazy times of 2022. So thank you for that, Paladin.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure, man. I'm hoping you're coming to town. Maybe this summer we'll get to see you and see you touring in support of your album. That would be great. I know that you were a morning guy in Detroit, and I think you used to live in Jackson, where I grew up a little bit as a boy before I moved to Texas, and then you followed me to Texas.
No, you were born in Jackson, Michigan? No kidding?
No, I actually moved to Jackson, but I wasn't born there. I moved to Jackson.
Well, I still have family. We still have our hunting grounds in Jackson County, Michigan, but we moved to Texas 22 years ago because we demand freedom. Yeah, we have a lot to share, man. We're Midwestern hellraisers. God bless you, man.
Yeah, I went from Jackson, Michigan to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then we moved down to Texas, so I almost felt like you were stalking me. It was awesome to know that you were a fellow Texan. Now, you were a sheriff for a while,
Texas
too.
Is awesome.
Right? Yeah, Texas is amazing. Love the weather.
Yeah, Texas, especially Central Texas, where we moved, so we've got a great constitutional God family country freedom zone here in Central Texas in McLennan County outside of Waco. And boy, it's the greatest families, the greatest work ethic, the greatest Christians, the greatest rock and rollers, the greatest conservationists. So I tend to migrate to where there's positive spirit and positive energy and a lot of goodwill and decency. So that's why we moved to Texas.
One more thing before I hit the go on the song. Website, social media, all that stuff. How do you find you?
Well, I got a Facebook page, Ted Nugent Facebook, and a tednugent.com, where some buddies of mine had a hat that said, I will not comply. And so I signed my buddies' I will not comply hats. And now I think we're at 50,000. I sign them every day, so if people would like an autographed I will not comply middle finger hat, you can go to tednugent.com. But yeah, I communicate with great people out there, real music lovers, real hard-working families, rock solid in the asset column, and I thank everybody for that, and I welcome them to come to Ted Nugent Facebook. We have an electric campfire there every day, and that's really about the lyrics of the American Campfire song, that if you want to have the greatest quality time in life, it'll be around a campfire with great hunting, fishing, trapping, outdoor conservation families, and so that spirit is alive and well, and I'm humbled by it, man.
Awesome, Ted, man. Thanks so much. I hope we can do this again sometime. So right here, right now, you just heard Ted Nugent, the man, the Motor City madman, so to speak. And I will get on with American Campfire right here, right now on 94.